Rick Barnes goes from UT to UT and trades in his burnt orange for a lighter shade of orange. And the Longhorns eye Shaka Smart for their coaching vacancy. All this and much more coming up on College Crossfire.
What the hell's the rest of them? Taylor's not even here to defend himself. I'm so excited.
You have him. Oh, no,
Welcome to tonight's episode of College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jeff Barker. I know what you're all thinking, but no, this is not an April Fool's joke. The stools are gone, and we're trying something new here on the show. With that, let's introduce you to tonight's panel. First up, we got last week's champion, Peter Sblendorio. Next up, Julien Owens. Last but not least, Jake Loessin. They're all veterans on the show, guys. We got tons of Texas basketball to get into tonight. So after 17 years at the helm of the Texas basketball program, UT and head coach Rick Barnes parted ways this weekend. Barnes was quick in moving on, accepting a job with the other UT, the University of Tennessee. The Horns have also acted quickly in finding their new head coach, setting their sights on Virginia Commonwealth coach Shaka Smart. The Horns have offered Smart the job and are currently waiting on his decision. So are you guys all in on Smart, or is there someone else that might be a better fit for the job? Pete, we'll start with you.
All right, Jeff, I'm mostly in, okay? I like Shaka Smart a lot. I respect what he's been able to do. The Final Four 4 years ago, tournament wins in 2 other seasons. I have a little trepidation for one reason. He's been there 6 years and he's never won a conference title, and that's in the CAA and the Atlantic 10. You would think, I mean, Texas is looking for somebody who can win the Big 12, right, and end that reign of terror that Kansas has had the last 11 years. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to get somebody who's won a conference in a mid-major. I do like Shaka Smart quite a bit. Whenever I found out the coaching vacancy was going to be open, originally I wanted Greg Marshall out of Wichita State. I thought he was the best fit. The things he's done the last 3 years with Wichita State is unbelievable. I mean, 30 wins in 3 straight seasons. You know, went from going to the Final Four to being a 1 seed to making it to the Sweet 16 this year with a little bit lesser of a team than he's had the 2 years prior. And I just think it's been very impressive. He's won a lot of conference titles. That's a guy I would have gone after, but I do think Shaka Smart's going to do very well here. He's somebody who gets the most out of everything out of his players. They always play tough against good teams. I think that, you know, with Texas kind of being a team that hasn't gotten the most out of its players in years past, I think he's a good fit for the team.
All right, Julien, what do you got for us?
I think Shaka is the perfect position for the Horns. He said he basically took a VCU team that nobody really heard of and took them to the Final Four. Most people didn't even think VCU was even going to go past around the 32. So I have to give him that. Also, he's one of the youngest coaches to receive 100 wins. So with that, with the VCU team at Atlantic 10 and going to the NCAA tournament so many years at VCU, I mean, it's a great pick. Like what Peter said, the only problem is going to be, yeah, he hasn't won a conference title yet, but I think he's going to get there with the talent with the Texas that he has here. We're just waiting on him to give him the answer, but I think this is a perfect fit for a team. We need a young coach. Well, Texas needs a young coach that's to actually go out there, delegate, get the players moving, and actually turn it around. Yes, we have a lot of great players that come to Texas. We have a lot of big names that come in like Kevin Durant, TJ Ford, and DJ Augustine, but we need that bigger push to take us from Final Four to the national championship and actually win it.
So we've got most of the way in with Pete. Julien, was that an
all the way in?
That was an all in. All right, Jake Loessin, let's hear.
You know, Shaka's a great coach. He averages 27 wins, you know, in his 6-year stint at VCU. But I just think with the University of Texas, they have the resources, the money, that they could probably find a higher profile guy. I mean, you look at Billy Donovan, you know, at Florida, won a national championship. I just think with
couple titles.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, the money that the University of Texas has, they should probably look for a higher profile guy. And not that Shaka Smart's not a good fit for the University of Texas, but I just think that they could find someone who has won a title.
Peter, this is similar with the football job. We saw all these names being thrown out there, but it really comes down to how many can you actually get. So, I mean, I don't know if you can really get a bigger name or a more successful name than a Greg Marshall or a Shaka Smart. So I think I'm going to give Julien the point on this one. I'm all in on it as far as being the most realistic option for Texas at this point. So Julien's going to start us off with the point. Now, we've talked about Shaka Smart and some of the other potential candidates for the coaching job. Let's take a look at, or let's reflect a little bit back on Rick Barnes. Barnes won 402 games while at Texas, including 16 NCAA tournament appearances, 1 Final Four appearance in 2003. So for this one, we're going with a classic fill in the blank. And Julien, we'll start with you on this one. Rick Barnes' time at UT was fill in the blank.
I have to say Rick Barnes' time at Texas was admirable. I have to say it was admirable. He took a team that most people thought was the laughingstock of of NCAA basketball to one of the biggest contenders for basketball. 16 NCAA appearances, 402 wins, and over 160 wins in the conference play. So I mean, he has got the resume to actually did something really well with this Texas team. He has a lot, as I said in the last question, he has a lot of great players that came through. Kevin Durant, most notable, DJ Augustine, TJ Ford, and had a big run against Syracuse and Carmelo in 03. It's just he has a great resume, a great builder for him, but ultimately at the end, you couldn't get the big dance.
Okay, yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about results. Jake Loessin, what do you got?
You know, I would probably sum it up with the word historic. You look at his wins. He's got the most wins in Texas basketball history. Out of the 17 years that he was there, he took Texas to the tournament 16 times. And, you know, 2 Elite Eight appearances, 2 Sweet 16 appearances, and a Final Four appearance. You know, I think that towards the end there, like many college coaches, their career kind of runs its course. You know, you saw that with Mac Brown. But, you know, I think that overall, Rick Barnes did wonders for the University of Texas, and you will remember. And apparently, according to my mom, she did not want to see him go. So to all the administration out there, this is news to them. So they're probably shaking right now in light of that news.
Yeah, I think a hard thing for a lot of people to swallow with Rick Barnes is that he was a great guy, but at the end of the day, you know, as Julian said, it's all about results, and he wasn't coming with those results at the end. But he did change the game when it comes to Texas basketball here, winningest coach in UT basketball history. So all good points there, Jake. Pete, what do you think?
All right, my word is transcendent, because what he did at Texas was not only put him on the map, but he totally changed the program. I mean, in the 59 years prior, before he got there, the first 59 years of the NCAA tournament, Texas made it 16 times. In the 17 years that Rick Barnes was there, they made it 16 more times. I mean, not only did he put Texas on the map and take a team that, you know, frequently was sitting out the postseason and bring them to the postseason, I mean, he made them a really relevant program. He made them a team that was ranked #1. He made it a place where top recruits wanted to come. I mean, we saw it with Kevin Durant. We've seen it with Miles Turner. There are guys in the league, you know, like DJ Augustine or LaMarcus Aldridge who've had really nice seasons there. And I mean, he's just really done a good thing for Texas, putting them on the map. And I think ultimately he was a victim of his own success because he did so well in his first 10 years that he raised Texas to a certain standard that when they didn't reach that standard the last 7 years, you know, it kind of fell on him. But I think he's been I think it's been a transcendent performance by him as a head coach the last decade and a half plus.
All right, I'm going to go with Pete, the point on this one. I think transcendent's a great word to describe Barnes' time here. Definitely, I like I said, a victim of his own success, especially the last 2 years, not even just the last 4 or 5 years, like you were saying. The last year, I mean, he gets a team that nobody thought would do anything last year, you know, into the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament, then losing to Michigan, and then this year, you know, had a team that had a bunch of expectations and couldn't even live up to the expectations the previous year. So I'm going to go with transcendent. You know, I think he was a victim of his own success at times too. Pete's getting the point on this one, and you know, well, guys, whoever ends up getting the job just lost some talent with freshman big man Miles Turner declared for the NBA draft on Monday. Turner came in as one of the top recruits in the nation, but underwhelmed at many points throughout the season. Did Turner make the right decision declaring himself eligible for the draft, and what's his pro potential looking like? Jake.
You know, if I was Miles Turner, I think that he needs to stay and just kind of refine his talents for one more year in school. But, you know, he's a good-sized guy. He's very good from beyond the arc, got a high release. He's, you know, very good down low in the post. I think that he will go high in the draft just because of his potential. But, again, I don't think he's got enough experience yet to play at the pro level. But, hey, he's going to be making some coin, and just think of all the blinged-out bucket hats he's going to buy with that money.
All right, Pete, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was a smart move for him to go. I mean, look, sure, he could have used another year, but the NBA totally drafts off of potential, and that's something that he has a lot of. You know, we're looking at a guy who's 6'11" and might have the best mid-range shot in the Big 12. I mean, honestly, kind of disappointed from the three-point arc a little bit this year, but inside 15 feet, he was as good as it gets in terms of scoring. You know, I think his pro potential is good just because not a lot of guys that big can shoot with such a silky delivery. He's also a top-flight shot blocker. He led the league in the conference in blocks. You know, when I think about Miles Turner's time at Texas here, I feel like he didn't always get the opportunity to stand out like some of the other freshmen in his class did. He didn't start very many games. You know, it seemed like often if he didn't get hot early, they took him out and just made him a rotational guy. But make no mistake, I mean, this is one of the most talented players in college basketball. tremendous 15 feet and in. I think he's going to be a very useful player in the NBA, and I think a lottery team will be happy to have him.
All right, Julian, finish us off.
We all knew that he was going to go to the NBA draft, but also with Jake's point, I don't think that this was a smart move on him. I think he should have waited another year. Yes, he get 10 points a game. Yes, he got a little over 6 rebounds a game, lead the conference in blocks. But the problem is, like what Peter said earlier, it's just he was more of like when he got cold for a minute, they put him on rotation. It seems like for me, as I was seeing the season for the Texas Longhorns, there was some kind of inconsistency here every once in a while. Like Peter said, if you took him in the 15-yard range, like he can't even miss sometimes. But then some of the games you see him, he's just like, where's his prospect? So as a freshman class as a whole, I do not think he should have left Texas so early. But in the end, it's his decision. He can do what he wants.
I think Jake's going to grab the point on this one. I think Miles definitely gets drafted pretty high just off pure potential. I don't know if it was the smartest move to leave, but because of the NBA, Pete, you mentioned it too, drafts off pure potential. Could end up being the right move. Jake's going to grab the point on this one, and that's going to take us to our first break of the night. When we come back, our panelists will give you an in-depth preview of each of Saturday's Final Four matchups. Stay tuned. We're rolling along here tonight on College Crossfire. Thanks for sticking with us. Here's how the scores look after round one. We're all tied atop the leaderboard at 1 apiece. We got Peter Sblendorio, Julien Owens, and Jake Loessin joining us on the show tonight. At your panel now, guys, that we've discussed all of the basketball happenings here on the 40 acres. Let's get into the 4 teams with title hopes on the line this Saturday. This year's Final Four consists of 3 1 seeds, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Duke, along with the unlikely 7 seed, the Michigan State Spartans, making a run to the Final Four. So on one side of the bracket, you got Kentucky, Wisconsin, and other side, Duke, Michigan State. Let's discuss each of these matchups and who you all have advancing to the title game. Pete, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'll start with Duke and Michigan State because that's the easy one.
All right.
I think Duke wins easily. They have way more depth. They have way more size. Michigan State doesn't have really anybody taller than 6'9". Duke has 3 guys like that. And Michigan State, I think, they were in the easiest region, so they moved on pretty easily. Credit to Tom Izzo, but this is an offense that was 65th in basketball, a defense that was 87th. They're okay, but they don't really do a lot of anything. I think they'll be overmatched by Duke's size and depth, versatility. I like Duke a lot in that one.
Kentucky, Wisconsin?
Give me Wisconsin, okay? I'm thinking a little differently here.
All right.
And here's why. I know everybody's all in on Kentucky.
Bold predictions?
I think 38-0, maybe take that out of it here and let's just look at the matchup, okay? I mean, I think that Kentucky was a little bit exposed against Notre Dame. Notre Dame just pulled all of their guys inside, and they made them go outside. So they had 5 guys around the perimeter. They made Willie Cauley-Stein and Karl Towns bounce outside, and then they just kept cutting and cutting and cutting to the basket. They had 16 assists. They had 20 layups and dunks. Just stuff that, they had nobody down there to guard it. Now I look at a team like Wisconsin that's a lot better at three-point shooting, a lot bigger, the most efficient offense in basketball that just totally ripped an Arizona team that's 3rd in basketball and defense. The team that turns it over the least in basketball, Wisconsin. I think they match up great. Plus, who's going to guard Frank Kaminsky? I mean, nobody. I think Wisconsin wins this game. I really do.
So you're predicting a Wisconsin-Duke Final Four?
That's right.
All righty. Julian, what do you got?
Duke, Michigan State, Duke. I mean, you've seen it against Louisville and Michigan State. Michigan State was down early in the first half. They really couldn't pull it together until like a late round. So with the past 2 games, Michigan State, I just don't see the consistency to beat this high-powered Duke team. And like he said, they're just not man enough to go beat them in the post. So I have to say Duke is going to win that game very easily.
All right, Kentucky, Wisconsin?
Got to go with Kentucky. I have them going and winning and advancing to the national championship. It's just, like he said, I mean, they seemed a little vulnerable against, crap, I can't think of their names. But as you seen, like, they are good in the perimeter. They did beat the perimeter a lot in the 5 perimeter. But the thing is, also with the same thing as with Kentucky, they're a very young team. They understand what's going on. They understand the perfection. So with this Wisconsin team, they're very fundamental in basketball. But as you've seen time and time again, every time when they come in the tournament, that fundamental basketball can be broken very quickly. So with that being said, I think that Kentucky's going to take it, break it down to its bare minimum, and they're going to win this game.
All right, Jake, last but not least.
I would say that for the Kentucky-Notre Dame game, I think that was the best thing that could ever happen to Kentucky. I think it was a wake-up call. They were kind of sleepwalking through the beginning of this tournament, and I think now that they realize, we have been exposed, we can be beaten, I think that they don't turn a blind eye. They get back to their fundamentals, and I don't even think it's close. As far as Duke, Michigan State, I think Duke wins easily, like they said. Just bigger, better athletes. So I think that's my national championship games.
Alrighty, guys, we're going to give points after question 2, but real quick, we've got your picks for Saturday's games. For Monday night's title game, is anyone not picking Kentucky, I guess, besides Pete? Well, you guys just said Kentucky's in there, but
Kentucky
Duke for both you guys down at the end.
Kentucky's going undefeated. They're going to win.
40-0?
Unfortunately, yes, they will go 40-0. Unfortunately for our fans out there, especially Harry out there, I'm sorry. Like, Kentucky, I just think that the best chance of Kentucky losing in this tournament was against Notre Dame. If they lost against Notre Dame, that was the best option. Unfortunately, I don't see anybody else beating Kentucky. Duke got a great squad, but I just don't see them.
You look at Kentucky's bench. The second five could start on literally any other college team. And I just don't think they're going to be able to. Duke's going to be able to hang. They'll hang in the first half because it is Duke, but Kentucky will wear them down just by pure size. Kentucky.
All right, we know we got a bold prediction coming here from Pete, because Pete had Wisconsin Duke in there.
Yeah, I do. And look, first of all, Kentucky's bench is very good, but they also, they lost Poitras for the season. And I think Duke's starting lineup and Wisconsin's starting lineup are both better than Kentucky's actual starting lineup. I just think it's the fact that they have a lot of depth that makes them a little bit better. But here's my deal with Wisconsin, who I think is going to win it all. They're the second tallest team in the nation. They turn it over the least in the nation, and they're the most efficient team in the nation. Plus, they just ripped a top 3 defensive team. They have a top 10 defense themselves, and they're filled with mismatches. I just see Willie Cauley-Stein's good at guarding threes, so if he has to come out and guard Kaminsky, well, that opens up stuff down low. If Karl Towns guards Kaminsky, then Kaminsky will just beat him over the top because he shoots 42% from 3. And they have 4 guys who are 6'8" or taller that can shoot threes at 32% or better. I just look at a team with a ton of size, a ton of depth. John Calipari said it best. We're unbeaten, but we're not perfect. I'm not just going to concede the fact that they're 38-0 and say, well, they're definitely going to win it all. I like Wisconsin's matchup against them very much. I think that they do exactly what Notre Dame does, and they do it better. Notre Dame showed how to beat them. I think Wisconsin's going to be able to execute it a little bit better. They're better at passing. They take better care of the ball. They're taller. They're better at shooting, and they're going to finish in the basket way easier. I really like Wisconsin. I think they match up very well.
I like the bold prediction, Pete. I don't know if Wisconsin has quite the athleticism, similar athleticism to Notre Dame, but I think I'm going to go with Jake. Jake's going to get the point on this one for question 1 and 2. I think this might have been the wake-up call for Kentucky. And you mentioned that now the blueprint's out there for how to beat Kentucky, but I think Coach Cal's a good enough coach to combat that, and I just don't know if Wisconsin's athleticism is quite up to par with Kentucky's to beat them, especially after they had the close call there. I think Kentucky cruises now. I'm going to give Jake the point on this one. Now, switching gears, we're finally just down to 4 days away from the start of the MLB regular season. The Cardinals and Cubs will get us started Sunday evening, with the rest of the clubs kicking off their seasons on Monday. So before we go to break, I want one quick sleeper team to watch out for this season in the MLB. Jake, we'll start with you.
If we're just talking pure sleeper team, not talking winning the pennant or anything, I'd have to go with the Houston Astros, going 34-38, final 72 games of the season, and then going 20-20 in the last 6 weeks. They picked up some good sluggers. Evan Gattis, get that and along with Jose Altuve. I think that's a great. Those young boys, can hit the ball. Now, as far as pitching goes, the Astros are not very stacked as far as pitching, so the other teams are going to be slamming the ball too. But I definitely think look for the Astros to go above 500. Who knows what could happen from there?
All right, I like the Stros. We're going to come back down this way. Julian, what do you think?
My sleeper team for the MLB has to be the Cubs. I think the Cubs are one of the teams that you got to watch out for.
Go, baby.
Joe Madden, a great coach who's going to help lead them going through. Their pitching staff is so stacked. I mean, I can't say anything bad about their pitching staff. And also, one of their batters this year, in spring training, led MLB in home runs. And one of their batters for last year, who second to home runs, is coming back. So they have a team to go and actually do something. If it's not going to be this year, it's probably going to be next year. I think they're going to be the Kansas City Royals of this season.
Yeah, that was Chris Bryant referring to the home run leader in spring training. They definitely got some sluggers out there. Pitching's not bad, too. Some Argents, a couple other guys. Pete, what do you think, sleeper?
All right. Well, this is hard for me to say because I'm a Yankees fan, but I'm going to go with the crosstown rival Mets, and I'm going to do something that my panelists didn't do and give you a couple actual specific names here. They're bringing Matt Harvey back, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball 2 years ago. He's going to be the ace of that staff. He had a great spring training. But I look at some other pretty reasonable pitchers in that staff: John Neese, Dylan G. They have Noah Syndergaard coming up, who's going to be, who's been one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. The biggest difference for them is I think they're actually going to be able to hit this year. David Wright, but they also have Daniel Murphy still at second base. They add Michael Kadire, who's a perfect fit because he's a gap hitter in that lineup. Go with Curtis Granderson, who adds a little power. I like their lineup, and I love their rotation.
Pete taking shots here at the panel.
Friendly shots.
Friendly shots. I think Pete's going to take the point on this one. Guys, it's time for our final break of the night. Coming up next, we'll crown a winner in our rapid fire round. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for sticking with us tonight on College Crossfire. It's time for our rapid fire round. But before we continue, let's get one last look at the scoreboard. It's Pete, last week's defending champion, with 2, Julien in the middle with 1, and Jake Loessin tied atop the leaderboard with Pete with 2 points. But guys, we know it always comes down to rapid fire, usually the last question. But let's get into the first question of rapid fire here. Much has been made this year about LeBron's relationship with his new teammates and coaches in Cleveland. In a recent interview with Cleveland.com, LeBron said that he only has 3 really good friends in the NBA. 1 point will be awarded for each of LeBron's big 3 friend group that you guys are able to guess correctly. Anybody jump in?
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade.
All right. Well, Pete's there. Pete's there with 1 with D Wade.
Carmelo Anthony.
Pete's there with another one. Anybody else? Last one.
Chris
James
Paul.
Hall?
Oh, wow.
Pete's going three Pete on that one. So we're.
I was at that wedding. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, Pete taking a commanding lead here in rapid fire, 5 points. Julien with 1, Jake Loessin there with 2, and I promise I didn't tell Pete that one ahead of time.
He really lucky.
Jumped in, was at the wedding apparently. Yeah. So guys, our next rapid fire comes to us from lifetime Longhorn NBA star LaMarcus Aldridge. The Blazers' power forward has long been one of the more underrated players in the league, and he finally spoke about it the other day when he said, quote, "Guys that do less than me get more hype than me." So, fellas, is Aldridge the most underrated player in the association? And anybody jump in on this
I
one?
would have to believe so. I mean, he does a lot. His stats prove that he's one of the best power forwards in the league. I just don't understand why he hasn't got any kind of thing for it. Like with the Portland Trailblazers, like you see how the transition of how they were just a laughing stock of the NBA to almost like a playoff contender. And then you seen it last year. I just don't understand why LaMarcus is getting so underrated. Like, he's one of the players that puts up the shots, who puts up the team and gets his team on his back. But at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, you're a Trailblazer. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, I
Jake?
feel like he's pretty underrated too. I guess just being on the Trailblazers and a lot of the media just focusing on LeBron, Steph Curry, just more of the teams that are really just in it and more current players. Yeah, I believe the stats speak for themselves, and he should get more recognition for sure.
Yeah, he's averaging about almost 24 points,
Right.
over 10 rebounds a game. I mean, solid stats there with the likes of Kevin Love and some of the other better power forwards in the NBA. Pete, what do you think?
I do agree. I mean, he should be in the discussion with the best players in the league. But as far as most underrated, I'd probably go with Jimmy Butler. I mean, you look at the Bulls and everybody talks about Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, but Butler's the reason that they're in the thick of the East playoffs. They're a middling seed, and I mean, without Derrick Rose playing, he's a guy averaging 20 points and plays premier defense at the perimeter. I mean, I think he's the most underrated player for sure. Aldridge is underrated, but he gets more love than Butler does.
I think Butler's pretty underrated. He's started to get a little bit more love recently, though. He's talking about maybe getting a max contract with, if not from the Bulls, with another team. Maybe even I've heard the Lakers potentially going in there for a max contract on Butler. So I don't know if you're in the talks for a max contract. Don't know if you're quite overrated. But Julien and Jake, you guys got another underrated player to throw out there, maybe?
I'd probably go Gasol.
Paul Gasol?
Yeah.
All right. No
I
solid underrated.
have to go to his brother, Mark.
Mark? All right.
Great.
Oh, I'm gonna go Gasol brothers on this one. 2 points for Julien, 2 points for Jake. This last one's gonna be worth 3. Coming down to this last rapid fire in honor of April Fool's Day. A few professional athletes got it in the spirit, pulled some of their own pranks. Tom Brady punked fans on Facebook, posting a picture of himself in a full body cast and captioned it, quote, "Jordan's crossover is no joke." Fellow Patriot Julian Edelman also got his prank on when he tweeted a picture of himself in a Red Sox uniform and captioned it, "Taking my talents to Fenway." So to end the show, guys, I'm giving a couple points in the win here to the best prank that you guys have ever pulled.
Mom, you're having grandkids.
Okay, that's a solid, scary one of that.
Best one I have to say was when I was on a trip. I called my mom on April Fool's and told her that she had to come pick me up because I snuck in the girls' room from 5 hours away.
God, a
She-
couple
she was on the
extremely
way.
inappropriate ones to start out here.
I told my parents I failed a test today and I had to come back for another semester. I mean, it's not as mean, but you know.
Wait, so you told me you failed the test? You got to come back for a victory lap?
I told them I was coming back and enjoying my time in Austin another semester, but I told them the truth eventually.
Wait, so you guys all did this today, or yours was, you said a couple years ago? All right.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, mine was about a year ago.
About a year ago?
It was today. I don't know.
Yours was
That was a couple hours ago.
victory lap, Pete. I don't know, man. Your parents they know you're smarter than that. Come on. They know you're getting straight A's here on the UT campus.
Yeah.
Well, they think that.
I'm gonna give Jake the points on this one. Jake's gonna grab the win. Looks like we've got some time for FaceTime here. Jake, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I just like to give a shout out to my girl, Ariana Grande. I love you, baby. And you complete me, honestly.
I know our teleprompter man, Joshua Garrett, he's loving that over there too. He's a big Ariana Grande fan. Jake,
Hey, just love me harder. That's all I ask. Just love me harder.
well, Jake, congratulations on your first win, man. Julian, Peter, thanks for coming on the show again tonight. Guys, that's all the time we have for tonight's show. We thank you for tuning in to another episode of College Crossfire. We'll be back here, same place, same time. Only difference is next week we'll be having our annual 24/7 fundraiser where we go live 24 hours a day for an entire week. So if you have a heart and you want to support student television, please tune in and make a donation. For everyone in Master Control, the studio, tonight's panel, and myself, we'll see you next week. Chip bells.
My break wasn't good.